This street urchin boasts a terrifying gift, communicating with vermin. He tracks their scent through the darkest shadows. Following a narrow crack, he mimics their sharp squeaks. He leans in, waiting for the swarm to answer. A low rumble echoes like thunder. Young Chu counts slowly. 1, 2, and on 3, the chaos begins. A literal tide of rats erupts. They swarm the tables, sending panicked customers screaming toward the rooftops in terror. The prank ends in a messy pileup. His friends roar with laughter, praising Chu as the absolute king. Suddenly, his heavy-set friend arrives, breathless. The tavern owner is searching for Chu. The boy's smile instantly vanishes. Dread fills his heart. At the tavern, a cold sheet covers a battered body. His brother was murdered. That monster beat him to death for a simple mistake. Chu collapses, his world shattering as grief takes hold. He stares at his brother's cooling remains. Just yesterday, they were together. Now, he is met with haunting silence. The owner tries to turn away, unable to bear the tragedy. But Chu demands to know the killer's name. Do not seek revenge, the man warns bitterly. That man is a demon you cannot hope to touch. Chu's gaze hardens with murderous intent. He claims he only wants to curse him, but his eyes say otherwise. By sunset, a lonely mound of earth is all that remains. He now knows the enemy, the Purple Sky Sect. The culprit is a piece of trash named Hong Dung. In this world, the strong trample the weak. This villain thrives on fear, lording his power. But today, his luck is finally about to run out. Returning home, a foul stench blocks his path. Hong Dung is forced to hug the wall to avoid filth. He brushes against a strange wooden rod. He doesn't realize he stepped into a trap set by a child. Hidden in the shadows, Chu watches with predatory eyes. A lethal spear is aimed right at the killer's heart. As the mark reaches the trigger, Chu strikes. The spear thrusts through the wall, followed by a blood-curdling scream. The assassination is perfect. A 5-year-old has slain a warrior. Chu hides, waiting for the heat. But the Purple Sky Sect is relentless. Like a cornered rat, Chu weaves through alleys to evade them. Detected, Chu leaps onto the rooftops, his small heart racing as he pushes his body to its absolute limit. A roof tile shatters under his weight. He crashes to the ground, pain searing as he keeps running. The sect leader corners him, pinning the boy down. You killed my man, so now you must die. The blade whistles through the air, aimed at Chu's neck. The boy closes his eyes, bracing for death. A heavy scabbard strikes the leader's skull, knocking him senseless. A mysterious, handsome swordsman has appeared from the mist. This master offers the boy a new life. That very day, Chu is spirited away to a hidden fortress. He arrives at a facility filled with children. These are no ordinary orphans. They are being forged into weapons. This is the notorious Death Spirit Bureau. The elders have already taken notice of Chu's cold-blooded efficiency and talent. They marvel at his first kill. A child eliminating a martial artist without a single mistake? A true prodigy. Congratulations, Hong Yet, you found a monster, they cheer. But in the inner sanctum, a darker meeting begins. The first disciple calls an emergency assembly. His voice trembles as he begs his brothers for an unthinkable forgiveness. Meanwhile, Chu enters his new quarters. 3 other fledgling killers wait there, sizing him up with icy gazes. A cocky boy approaches. How many lives have you taken? Your kill count determines your worth in this hell. The boy brags about 16 victims before pointing at a silent girl. She is the weakest here, a failure. She only managed to kill one pathetic old man, he sneers. The girl turns, her eyes flashing with lethality. Shut your mouth if you want to keep your tongue, she hisses. The boy whispers. She is terrifying. He points to a boy lurking in the shadows named 𝑨𝒔𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏. Nobody knows his count. Perhaps he is ugly. 𝑨𝒔𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 looks up, his gaze dripping with sheer bloodlust. The air in the room turns freezing in an instant. I did not kill him, 𝑨𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 rasps. I carved him into pieces, and you might be my next masterpiece. The room falls silent. Chu simply states he was a survivor who was saved. He hides his true potential. Back in the council, the legendary Thien Lam drops to his knees before his comrades in a shocking display. He begs for mercy. He has successfully assassinated the legendary sword saint, but the cost was far too high. In his haste, he committed a sin no assassin survives. He left his scabbard behind at the crime scene. Now, The entire martial world knows the Death Spirit Bureau was responsible. The hunt for the assassins has begun. The third brother stood trembling, his eyes filled with betrayal as he realized his leader's secret agenda. A dark omen had haunted him since that woman appeared, fearing his brother would abandon their brotherhood. Consumed by rage, the brother stormed out, yet Thien Lam remained silent, bearing his heavy burden alone. He begged for the survival of his men, offering his own existence as the ultimate sacrifice instead. Silence fell like a shroud. Tomorrow, the ritual begins. Survival demands endurance, not just mindless bloodshed. We must protect Sogo. As long as the boy lives, the Bureau's legend will never truly die. Even with the slimmest hope, we must act. Meanwhile, the 10 sects prepare their final, deadly move. 3 Shaolin elders arrived with a chilling command. The beggar gang must erase the legend. Thien Lam, with prayers on their lips and murder in their hearts, they ordered his annihilation before dawn's light. Clueless and arrogant, the gang leader held the decree, unaware of the bloodbath he was about to ignite. While the fools plotted, the third brother stood under the cold moon, his heart heavy with regret. He knew his leader's despair was deeper than any ocean, yet his own bitter words still stung. Shadows shifted as Thien Lam approached. The brother bowed low, desperate to take back his harsh accusations. "The sin is mine alone," the leader whispered. "Tonight is our final sunset. Let us find peace." Bound by a bond stronger than blood, they faced the end together, mourning the time they lost. At the enemy camp, the air grew cold as an elder explained the horrifying cleansing law ritual. The law of cleansing, a demonic decree used to crush any sect that dares to defy the heavens. The Bureau's crime was the fall of the Sword Saint. Now, the debt must be paid in blood. Total extermination was the verdict, but to save his kin, the legendary assassin accepted a living hell. Thien Lam surrendered his life. The fool Chun was chosen to be the executioner of a god. The ritual is pure torture, limbs severed, ears pierced, and eyes gouged out until nothing remains. With his senses shattered and energy sealed, he will become a living ghost trapped in eternal darkness. But the 10 sects are snakes. Even if he submits, they plan to slaughter everyone by sunrise. They will hunt every soul. Amidst the brewing storm, little Chu woke up in the dead of night. "Don't run, you'll never escape," a voice hissed. But Chu was just looking for the bathroom. Tiptoeing through the shadows, his movements were instinctively silent, the hidden mark of a natural-born killer. The sharp whistle of a blade cut the air. Chu scaled the wall, his curious eyes peering through. A white-haired prodigy danced with steel in the moonlight. Chu hid as a mysterious man appeared. "Hide your face," the man commanded. "Your talent is a secret that could set the world ablaze." Chu watched intently as the man whispered, "No matter what happens, you must revive our fallen legacy." "You are our only hope, Sogo," Chu gasped. The hidden legend was standing right before him. Though a newcomer, Chu realized he had stumbled upon a secret that would change his fate forever. Inside, the brothers shared one last drink, a final banquet of shadows before the morning's execution. They toasted to years of war and survival, a brotherhood forged in fire, now facing its end. As the stars faded, Thien Lam bowed. "Forgive me, and thank you for being my brothers." With a solemn martial salute, they bid farewell, an oath taken in the silence of the night. Disciples and mounts were readied. The Bureau began to dissolve into the darkness to survive another day. "We meet in 10 years," a vow whispered to the wind as they scattered into the unknown. They vanished just as the beggar gang arrived, their leader Chun radiating pure, arrogant bloodlust. "Show yourself, Thien Lam," Chun bellowed, his voice filled with the petty joy of a vulture. He boasted of the coming gore. Then, Thien Lam emerged, clad in pure, funeral white robes. The leader was a mountain of calm, having already accepted the gruesome fate awaiting his body. He stood tall, ready to pay the price. Chun stepped forward, a wicked grin on his face. "Where are your rats?" Chun sneered. Thien Lam replied calmly, "They are gone, and you are late." "You think they can escape the 10 sects?" Chun laughed. "The hunt has only just begun." With a cruel sneer, the order for execution is barked. A mob of ruthless thugs lunges toward the legendary Heaven Blue assassin. They chain him to 4 massive iron pillars. His young attendant screams in agony, unable to witness his master's ultimate humiliation. But the boy is powerless. Chun Yu begins reciting the horrific sentence. The first punishment of the Shaolin is to gouge his eyes. For having sight but failing to see the world's truth, his vision is forfeit. The executioners strike with cold, calculated savagery. As they tear away an eye, Chun Yu trembles in shock. The heaven-blue assassin remains eerily still, like a statue of stone. Not a single groan escapes his lips, a true monster of endurance. Next, the Wudang sect steps forward to claim his remaining eye. The Imai sect shatters his right eardrum, while the Huashan sect pierces the left. The symphony of torture is deafening and brutal. The Qingcheng sect severs his right hand. The Zhongnan sect follows, ruthlessly carving through his flesh without a hint of mercy. The Kongtong sect hacks off his left leg, and the Pointed Spear sect claims the right. The ground is soaked in crimson. The Nanhai sect shatters his dantian, and finally, the Beggar sect delivers the ultimate strike, the complete destruction of his abdomen. These vile, beastly commands flow from Chun Yu's lips as the execution proceeds. Despite the carnage, the assassin remains hauntingly silent. Meanwhile, his brothers are fleeing for their lives. The fifth disciple and Chu gallop desperately through the treacherous terrain. They nearly collide with two beggars blocking the road. The filthy men extend their bowls, whining for a meager scrap of food. He tosses them a piece of bread and continues his ride. They bow in feigned gratitude, but their eyes gleam with malice. Spies. These are agents of the Beggar sect. They immediately begin drafting a secret message to alert their Grand Master. Suddenly times slash, asterisk, a blade silences one spy forever. The fifth disciple had sensed the trap and circled back like a predator. His instincts were perfect. He executes the remaining rat, knowing that a massive hunt is now closing in on them. They take refuge in a riverside shack. A scout from the Purple Spirit Bureau arrives with grave news about the escape. The boat is ready. Cross the river immediately, he urges. Once you reach the next village, you will finally be safe. Elsewhere, Chun Yu gloats at his base. A swarm of sycophants surrounds him, offering empty praise to feed his massive ego. He truly believes he was chosen for his genius. He thinks the 10 great sects finally recognize his incomparable martial skill. As they celebrate their hollow victory, a report arrives. The guards on the mountain have disappeared without a trace. Chun Yu dismisses it with a wave. Those lazy dogs are likely sleeping in the brush, he scoffs, blinded by arrogance. Pathetic! A thunderous voice booms. Instead of boasting, you should be hunting the survivors of the Purple Spirit Bureau. Chun Yu freezes and bows in terror. It is the Elder Blackwood, the cold-blooded overseer of this entire massacre. He realigns their mission. Shaolin and Huashan are moving to intercept the 3 wolves, leaving no room for any errors. Wudang will sweep the stragglers, while the Beggar sect is tasked with capturing the 5th disciple, the dangerous Huang Nuyet. That man is a phantom of death, the elder warns. The subordinates tremble as they receive their new, lethal directives. He orders a search of the mountain, already knowing the truth. His guards have been slaughtered like mere cattle. His tactical mind analyzes the map. To reach the Van Shuyen Mountains, the targets must use the White Sun Ferry. He doubles the troops around the mountains and reinforces Maluk village. The net is tightening around our heroes' necks. He sneers at Chun Yu one last time. You weren't chosen for talent, but simply because your sect was the closest tool. His pride crushed, Chun Yu moves out. Meanwhile, Huang Nuyet and Chu cautiously enter the shadows of Maluk village. 2 beggars approach them again. Sensing the hidden daggers in their eyes, Huang Nuyet signals Chu to run at full speed. They are cornered in a dead-end alley. The thugs pounce, but find only Chu standing there with a mocking smile. Master is already behind you, Chu whispers. Before they can react, a shadow descends from the moonlit rooftops. 1 strike, 2, 3. Huang Nuyet carves through them like a god of war, leaving only corpses in his wake. They vanish into a dilapidated shack on the hill. From there, they watch the enemy forces spreading out like a plague. The river is crawling with guards. We stay hidden, Huang Nuyet commands. We wait for them to grow weary and careless. But fate has other plans. A lone beggar wanders toward their tattered tent to relieve himself against the wooden wall. He stops. He has sensed the breathing inside. Yet, he remains calm, acting as if he noticed absolutely nothing. He begins to walk away to alert the others. Huang Nuyet knows he cannot let a single witness escape this place. But if he strikes now, the entire village will erupt in chaos. He must decide, kill the spy or flee again. He grabs Chu and retreats into the darkness. The boat is compromised. They are now hunted animals in a cage. Moments later, Elder Blackwood and Chun Yu arrive at the scene of the fresh kills. The real hunt begins. Fresh blood in the dark alleyway, these beggars were cut down with terrifying precision. This is the work of the Death Spirit Bureau. They haven't escaped yet. Suddenly, a frantic informant rushes in with news. Hong Nguyet has been spotted deep within the mountain's shadow. The sect mobilizes their elite forces immediately. The elder demands every detail about their target. He senses something legendary is unfolding. Hearing the report, the old man breaks into a chilling laugh. A mere child is with him. The Death Spirit Bureau's secrets are finally revealed. He realizes every legendary killer is raising a successor, from the Asura half-god to the Invisible Slayer. They all carry a hidden seed. The Bureau is no exception to this dark tradition. The old fox smiles, his experience reading through their desperate play. A new monster is being born. He knows the Azure Phantom had a son, a child born from a forbidden union. This bloodline was the catalyst for the saint's tragic fall. The child was taken long ago. Now, each brother in the Bureau protects a young disciple, preparing them for a future of pure slaughter. These children are raised on a diet of hatred. They grow alongside the Phantom's heir, waiting for the day they can drown the world in blood. The order is clear. These seeds of danger must be uprooted and destroyed. Night falls as the hunt for the Prodigy truly begins. Hoang Nguyet and Little Chu emerge from the dense thicket. The assassin checks if the boy is hungry or exhausted. Their journey is just starting. They seek refuge at a secluded mountain hut. An old woman refuses them entry at first, claiming she has nothing for a pair of starving wanderers. She tries to shut the door, but the glint of gold coins changes her mind instantly. Greed opens doors that kindness never could. Her home is bare. Save for a few humble buns, Hoang Nguyet pays his respect, handing the meager meal to the hungry young Chu. The boy lies naturally about escaping by sea. His acting is flawless for his age. Suddenly, a violent kick shatters the silence at the door. The beggar's sect has arrived. They thrust a portrait forward, demanding answers. Have you seen this killer and his little shadow? The old woman freezes in terror. Her eyes dart toward the man sitting in her kitchen. The very killer they seek is right behind her. Little Chu cleverly interrupts, asking for more food. The thugs grow suspicious. They bark their questions again, sensing her growing fear. Her voice trembles as she tries to deny everything. She attempts to close the door, but the thugs force their way inside with brutal strength. They see the boy sitting calmly at the table. One thug creeps toward the kitchen. Drawn by the scent, he is hunting for the hidden predator. He pretends to be oblivious, but he has already spotted the legendary assassin. Before he can scream, a blade is already at his throat. Hoang Nguyet moves faster than human perception. A single strike pierces the thug's heart. The rest of the gang lunges forward in a frenzy. 1, 2, 3. 6 bodies fall in the blink of an eye. A symphony of death performed by a master. The sect never stood a chance. The old woman collapses in the corner, paralyzed by shock. Her soul seems to have left her body. Young Chu gently tries to comfort her. After the slaughter, Hoang Nguyet reassures her. He offers his thanks and a warning. Then they vanish back into the cold night air. By morning, the sect finds their missing brothers. The gruesome scene tells a tale of absolute power. They interrogate the woman for the killer's path. She remains catatonic, her face pale as a ghost. The trauma of seeing such violence has broken her mind. She barely whispers an answer. The price of hunting this man is becoming astronomical. Their ranks are being decimated by a single shadow. The elder's face darkens with pure malice. The woman mentions the plan to escape by boat. The elder narrows his eyes. He knows they are dealing with a master of deception. He suspects the boat story is a clever distraction, a tactical ruse to send them the wrong way, but he cannot afford to take risks. He splits his forces into 2 pursuit teams. Meanwhile, Hoang Nguyet and Chu avoid the main roads. They know the village is crawling with enemies. The docks are watched and the roads are blocked. Despite the kills, the sect's numbers remain overwhelming. One mistake means certain death for the boy. They hide atop a derelict roof at the village edge. Suddenly, Little Chu's sharp ears pick up a disturbance below. A predator is cornering its prey. A thug is threatening a young woman, trying to force her into a twisted romance. His knife glints dangerously in the moonlight. Chu watches the assault begin. Hoang Nguyet warns the boy not to interfere. This is not their battle to fight. Before the words leave his lips, Chu leaps down. The 5-year-old stands defiant, threatening the brute with the weight of the law. The thug bursts into mocking laughter. A tiny brat thinks he can stop a grown man. He has not realized the monster standing behind the child. Hoang Nguyet appears like a ghost behind Chu. He scolds the boy for his reckless compassion. In their world, kindness is a luxury. But the path is already chosen. Chu could not sit idly by while a life was destroyed. Huang Nuyet sighs, stepping into the fray. He gives the thug one chance to vanish, the same threat the boy made, now backed by killing intent. The air itself turns freezing cold. Enraged, the thug swings his blade. Chu quickly tells the woman to run for her life. The man lunges at the assassin in a blind rage. A single kick sends the thug crashing into the dirt. As he looks up, his eyes widen in recognition. He realizes exactly whose path he has crossed. His jaw drops in terror before the darkness takes him. For a master assassin, taking a life is second nature, but a new plan begins to form. Huang Niet crafts a perfect human skin mask. Luckily, this fool was a simple deckhand for the boats, the perfect disguise for a daring escape. Wearing the dead man's face, he places Chu in a basket. Carrying the boy on his back, they walk toward the docks. The hidden legend moves in plain sight. On board, a suspicious man noticed the shifting basket. He claimed it held deadly serpents. Terrified of a venomous bite, no one dared touch it. The ship finally departed. A colleague offered wine, oblivious that his friend was actually a disguised assassin. Suddenly, the man froze. The mask was peeling. Something was horribly wrong. With a swift strike, the impostor silenced him. The snakes had damaged his disguise. He released the boy, Chu, checking if his tiny body could still move. "Can you swim?" he asked. Hearing no, he lifted the 5-year-old Prodigy. "Then learn now," he declared, tossing him into the river. Meanwhile, a body appeared. It wasn't their member. The beggar sect rushed to investigate the mysterious death. The victim's face was gone. Realizing the killer was aboard, Elder Huck barked orders. But they were hours late. The vessel was already bound for Namdung village. Flares signaled their allies to intercept. They had no idea who they were hunting. The assassin was faster. Beggar sect members stormed the deck upon its arrival. They ignored the captain's protests, ransacking every corner of the wooden ship. "Where is the murderer?" The captain claimed the man had already plunged overboard. The dazed survivor confirmed the story. Now, the hunt for the child began. Chu lay lifeless after drowning. The assassin desperately pumped the boy's small chest. Just as hope faded, the child coughed, vomiting river water. He was alive. Relieved, the killer vanished with the boy. Soon, the beggar sect arrived nearby. They spotted tracks and vomit on the sand. The trail led toward Manhwa. The territory was massive. Finding a shadow in Manhwa was nearly impossible. It spanned multiple cities. Navigating these roads would be a nightmare for any killer. With a stolen face, he likely took the hidden, dangerous forest paths instead. They tracked him to the temples. One subordinate questioned if this was futile. "We should be chasing him, not searching shrines," he complained, wasting precious time. Elder Huck glared. He explained the 2 mountains where the dead were kept. One for the wealthy, and one for the nameless, forgotten souls of Huan Tin. He split the forces. "Search Thienum. I will handle the nameless graves myself." "Kill him on sight!" he roared. One arrogant soldier followed, grumbling in secret. He mocked the elder's wisdom. Why would an elite killer hide in graveyards? He should be fleeing, not harvesting faces from rotting corpses. He sneered. His men agreed. Who would waste time in a tomb during a pursuit? They believed the elder had failed. Reaching the woods, they decided to slack off. "He isn't here," he stated, ordering his men to rest and wait. They sat by the road, gossiping about their easy victory over the shadow. During a scuffle, one man tumbled down the embankment, cursing his bad luck. As he looked up, his heart stopped. There they were, the killer and the boy. Before he could scream, cold steel pressed against his trembling throat. One move, and his head would roll. Death stared him in the eyes. He turned pale. His comrades called out from above. The killer's blade remained inches from his life. "Answer them naturally," the assassin whispered. The man shook with pure, paralyzing terror. He lied about a lost shoe. Meanwhile, at the mountain, Elder Huck found chaos. Graves were unearthed, but no faces were taken. The corpses were far too hideous. The killer had been here, searching for a new identity, but left empty-handed. Elder Huck fired a flare. "Surround the area. The shadow is still among us. Not even an ant shall escape. Seal the mountain and advance toward Mount Thienam." The horses were ready. No more waiting, the lethal hunt had to begin immediately. They moved to intercept the assassin. One guard stayed behind, watching the dark abyss. Suddenly, a scream, "Enemy!" Then a cold blade silenced him forever. He fell instantly. The main force was already too far to hear his death. Huang Niet and little Chu emerged. Escape from the mountain seemed impossible now. They had to wait. Chu whispered, "Master, are we still taking the face?" No choice. They needed a corpse. Little Chu volunteered to find the grave. Though small, he was fast. Shovel in hand, he vanished into the mist. A messenger arrived at the camp, but found only ghosts. They'd moved on. Chu used his instincts. He found a promising site on the steep slope. Fresh soil and green trees. This grave was well tended and very new. Short grass meant recent burial. Before them stood a massive, wealthy tomb, Mount 𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕, the graveyard of kings. Chu raised his shovel to dig. 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 stopped him. "For the rich, we don't dig. We enter." He pushed the stone. A hidden mechanism revealed a dark, hollow passage. Torches flickered. Below lay a chamber fit for a lord, centered by a coffin. Inside was an elder. His skin was preserved by expensive herbs and tonics. 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 drew a sharp blade. "Are you afraid, Chu?" he asked coldly. Chu trembled, but didn't look away. An assassin prodigy must master this art. Outside, the messenger alerted the gang. "Return. Surround the mountain immediately." The underworld forces converged. Newet heard the thunder of hooves above. He checked the exit. Enemies everywhere. The mountain was now a cage. Their only hope was the tomb. They retreated back into the cold earth. He sealed the stone. Above, the bandits found their dead comrade's body. The mountain blazed with torches. "The assassin is here. Find him." They searched every corner. Finally, they reached the grandest tomb of all. Hidden inside, 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 held his breath. The leaders began to strategize. "Don't search every grave. Find the fresh ones. Find the hidden entrances." The elder summoned the gravedigger. 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 felt the cold grip of despair. Is this how a legendary killer dies? Trapped in a hole like a rat? It seemed like the end. But then, little Chu spoke with fire. "Master, why stop?" he asked. 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 sighed. "There's no point anymore. You saved me from death," Chu said. "I survived the freezing ocean waves. I won't stop until the king of hell himself claims my soul." 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 laughed. "The student has surpassed the master." The gravedigger arrived. The hunt intensified. Every stone was turned, every secret path revealed. They stopped. This tomb was sealed only 10 days ago. Suspicion grew. A 30 silver tombstone. But the black elder noticed a tiny displacement. He smirked. "They're inside. I can smell their fear under the stone." The stone had been moved. The commander unsheathed his blade to descend. His men tightened the circle. The killer was finally cornered in darkness. Was this the end? The commander roared as he charged into the tomb. Empty! They had vanished through 3 massive tunnels dug into the earth. Every path was blocked behind them. Their will to survive was absolute. With a blade at his throat, he'd commit any atrocity. That mangled, half-peeled face is a total nightmare. The elder barks orders for the thunderclap explosives. "Bring everything." Is the old monster really planning to level this entire zone? In this crisis, he measures 19 paces and forces his men into action. They dig near the ancient tomb. The keeper screams in terror, begging them to stop the demolition. These are noble graves. But the Black Elder ignores the warnings, proceeding with a heart of stone. The charges are set perfectly. Now, a single spark will trigger a massive, soul-crushing explosion for everyone. Below ground, 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 digs desperately while young Chu struggles to clear the suffocating mountain dirt. It's too much for a child. Even the legendary 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 is now drenched in a cold sweat. Exhaustion finally breaks young Chu. Seeing him limp, 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 asks if they should just quit here. There is no response. 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 rushes back, only to find the boy unconscious in the dark. "He can't die!" 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 shakes him, roaring, "Wake up! Where is that fighting spirit from before? Your senior brother sacrificed himself. You must live to carry on his legacy and his very soul." Hearing of his brother, Chu's eyes flicker. He gazes weakly at the master who refuses to quit. The air is toxic, yet the prodigy awakens. "I'm fine, master. We must continue our path forward." Above ground, the elder ignites the fuse. A massive explosion rips through the mountain with primal fury. Smoke and fire consume the land. Is it over? The entire area is now buried in scorched silence. The hunters search the debris. They find the charred remains of a man and a small child. Their faces are unrecognizable. Suddenly, another shout they found even more bodies hidden in the rubble. 2. 4. Multiple corpses. This mountain is a secret graveyard for the poor and the desperate. They believe burying family here brings luck. It's a tragic hope for a much better life tomorrow. Because they are poor, they bury kin in secret. The mountain is full of nameless, hidden graves. The blast was too powerful for anyone. The hunters are certain that no one could possibly survive. The enemies finally retreat. But then, the earth shifts. Hong Nyet crawls out from the hellish depths. Heaven hasn't abandoned them yet. Gasping for air, he frantically calls out for his young disciple, Chu. A miracle occurs. Young Chu raises a small, trembling hand from beneath the heavy, scorched earth. Pinned by rocks, Chu is pulled to safety. They embrace, grateful to be alive against all odds. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoes. The bastards never left. The elder was watching the whole time. They are incredibly cunning enemies. There is no escape now. The trap has finally closed around them. Hoang Nuyet smiles sadly. Thanks for everything, kid. You're the smartest brat I've ever known. I'll hold them back. You run, Chu. Run as far as you possibly can and survive. He demands a sword. Even as an assassin, he wishes to die like a true martial warrior. The elder sneers but agrees. Give this dog a blade. Let him die with at least some dignity. It's a final stand. He will fight to the death to ensure the child's safe escape tonight. Chu refuses to leave his master's side. If you don't go, I won't go, he cries desperately. Hoang Nuyet roars a final command. The battle begins, and steel clashes against steel in bloody fury. Heartbroken, Chu finally flees. He runs through the woods, tears streaming down his young, terrified face. Kill the boy, the elder commands. 2 elite killers immediately give chase to the small child. Hoang Nuyet lunges. His assassin instincts awaken, and he lethally cuts down the first pursuer instantly. 1 down, but 3 more surround him. Meanwhile, another killer closes in on the fleeing little Chu. The elite beggar sect warriors are too strong. Bloodied and broken, Hoang Nuyet finally goes down. They won't kill him yet. They want to tear his body apart, piece by slow, agonizing piece. Little Chu is fast, dodging through the thicket. His prodigy instincts guide him through the dark shadows. He lashes a branch into his pursuer's face. The assassin roars in pain, blinded by pure rage. Chu hides in the brush, mimicking the sound of mice to mask his frantic, heavy breathing. But the hunter finds him. A shadow looms over Chu as the cold blade is raised high. Chu's cold gaze lingered. Following those vile villains was your ultimate mistake. Now, your wretched life ends, right here. Consider this your final curtain call. I will find you a decent grave, so do not hold a grudge as I strike. Suddenly, a chilling squeak echoed. A massive swarm of ravenous rats surged from the shadows, lunging at the enemy with terrifying ferocity. They tore at flesh and bone. Seizing the chaos, Chu vanished. Meanwhile, Hoang Nuyet stood at the very precipice of a gruesome death. Out of nowhere, young Chu reappeared. The master's eyes widened in shock. Why did you return to this death trap? Run, now. The beggar gang stood frozen, their faces twisting into smug grins. Yet, a shadow of doubt flickered in their cruel eyes. Where was the elite assassin sent to hunt the boy? Why had this child returned to the lion's den all alone? Before they could think, a tide of vermin erupted. Not hundreds, but thousands of rats swarmed the deck like a living nightmare. Chu let out a piercing cry, pleading for his master to escape. The beggar gang stood paralyzed as the world turned black. Rats blanketed their bodies. Elder Black roared in fury, ordering his men to slaughter Hoang Nuyet at any cost. But chaos reigned. Screams filled the air as the bandits struggled against the savage, biting swarm. The hunters became the prey. The carnage was absolute. The beggar gang retreated, frantically drawing up new battle lines as 7 corpses were dragged away. Their scouts scoured the area, desperate for any lead. Soon, a chilling realization dawned upon the gang's leadership. Those bodies were mere decoys to buy time. Intelligence revealed 2 suspicious figures had bribed their way onto a smuggling vessel. The hunt intensified as forces divided to intercept. Indeed, Hoang Nuyet and young Chu had donned masterful human skin masks. Under the cover of high-stakes smuggling, the 2 fugitives sat undetected, hiding their wanted faces right under the enemy's nose. Hoang Nuyet questioned the boy about the rat swarm. Surprisingly, Chu possessed no supernatural control over the vermin. He merely mimicked their cries. Years ago, in a dying village, he heard rats weeping and fleeing just before a disaster. A massive landslide had followed. Now, whenever he mimicked that sound, the rats would descend into a panicked, violent frenzy. It was the ultimate signal of impending doom. Huang Nuyet watched the boy, wondering who was truly protecting whom in this world. Their silent bond deepened, but the peace was short-lived. A thunderous roar erupted from the deck above. The beggar gang had arrived. The bandits demanded the ship halt immediately. A massive, bloated guard drew his blade, shouting threats at the intruders. "Do you know whose ship this is?" Before he could finish, a flash of steel silenced him forever. The commander moved like lightning. With a single, cold strike, the captain was dead. The commander ordered the crew to drag every soul from the shadows. Horror gripped the survivors as they realized their leader was gone. Trembling, they obeyed the beggar gang's ruthless demands. Every man was lined up on deck, including Huang Nuyet. Little Chu lay hidden, heart racing inside a tattered sack below. The interrogation was brutal. They checked names, origins, and even clawed at faces to tear away any hidden masks. Huang Nuyet stood at the very end of the line, his hand tightening. Just as the tension reached its peak, a hand grabbed him. He was slammed to the floor. Had the legend been unmasked? Suddenly, a woman lunged forward, plunging a blade into his arm. The beggar gang recoiled in confusion. What is the meaning of this? This woman wasn't one of theirs, yet she acted with fury. She screamed at Huang Nuyet, demanding to know the location of her son. He pointed toward the dark cargo hold. The lady rushed below, her voice trembling. "Xin, from now on, you are my child. Follow me if you want to live." Chu peered out cautiously. She grabbed him, rushing back to the deck to face the beggar gang with tearful eyes. She introduced herself as a noble from the Hannu sect. She claimed the man she stabbed had kidnapped her precious son. If the gang hadn't stopped the ship, she would have lost him forever. She promised a grand reward for their heroic intervention. The commander's ego swelled. "This is merely our duty," he claimed, unaware he was being played by a master performer. To him, everyone on this ship was trash, but a noble's favor was priceless. The lady offered them a feast at her palace. "Visit the heavenly flower tower," she invited gracefully. Her servant then hoisted the wounded Huang Nuyet like a common prisoner. "We shall take this criminal for Our Lady to punish personally." With that, the four of them vanished into the morning mist. By dawn, the beggar gang realized the truth. They had guarded the ship all night, yet their prey had slipped through their fingers. As they prepared to torture the crew for answers, a mysterious letter arrived from the sect leader of the Hannu clan. Elder Black's face turned pale as he read the contents. This can't be real. The truth was far more scandalous than they imagined. Lady Huang Chao hadn't been a victim. She was the mastermind who had facilitated the assassin's escape from the very beginning. Could the legendary killer and the noble lady be husband and wife? The elder's mind raced as the pieces fell into place. Lady Beigun Hang had already prepared a secondary escape vessel at Dulin Port, waiting for her lethal partner to arrive. "We're leaving the Central Plains for good. Get the horses now," the Black Elder roared. While receiving urgent first aid, Huang Nuyet wondered how Huang Chao's elite network had tracked his ship. Huang Chao, Huang Nuyet, and young Chu sailed toward the horizon, accompanied by a loyal sect member. Reaching the pier, Huang Chao bid her subordinate a solemn farewell before stepping into the unknown. "Stay safe, my lady," the guard pledged, promising to wait until the underworld's chaos finally settled. Suddenly, time froze. The sect master stood there like a god of war, his blade piercing the ground. Huang Nuyet stepped forward, shielding Huang Chao despite the agonizing pain radiating from his fresh wounds. His shoulder was shattered, but there was no escape. This was a battle for their very souls. Steel clashed against steel. Two legends collided in a symphony of destruction, neither willing to yield. But Huang Nuyet's strength failed. Bloodied and broken, he collapsed under the sect master's overwhelming martial might. Pinned down, he heard the ultimatum: "Leave the woman with me, and you may live to see tomorrow." A cruel choice. Huang Chao was already branded a traitor. Staying meant a life of golden imprisonment. The sect master confessed his secret desire to abandon the throne and retreat into seclusion with her. Huang Chao rushed between them, her eyes pleading for an end to this cycle of senseless violence. She saw the love in his gaze, but her heart had already been claimed by another. "I am haunted by the ghost of our broken vow," she cried, her voice trembling with sorrow. For 15 long years, She had lived only for the chance to mend what was once shattered. Even after a decade apart, I am his wife. My soul belongs only to him. The sect master stood paralyzed as her words struck deeper than any blade ever could. If I stay, I'll be a hollow shell. You deserve more than a heart that lives elsewhere. The light vanished from his eyes, leaving only a mask of profound, soul-crushing sadness. So, you don't hate me? The powerful man whispered, his voice cracking with hidden vulnerability. How could she? He had been her protector, but destiny had written a different ending for them. With a heavy sigh, he released them. Go. The beggar sect's hunters are closing in fast. Through tear-filled eyes, they boarded the vessel just as the thunder of galloping hooves shook the earth. The Black Elder arrived like a storm, but his legendary prey had already vanished into the mist. To protect his secret, the sect master stabbed his own arm, faking a defeat to 𝑨𝒔𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏. The elder's furious scream echoed across the water. The greatest assassin hunt had ended in total failure. Safe on the waves, the group watched the shore recede. The legend of the killer had survived. In the quiet cabin, Huang Chao tended to his bleeding wounds, the air thick with unspoken words. Why do you still carry that guilt? Huang Nuyet asked, sensing the darkness in her heart. I was a failure, she sobbed. A woman lost in a bottle, unable to protect what mattered. If I hadn't been drunk, that carriage wouldn't have taken our sweet So-So away from us. Huang Nuyet pulled her into a desperate embrace. No, it was my life of blood that killed her. I forced you to live in constant terror, always running from the shadows of my past. I am the one who broke you. Their shared tears finally began to wash away years of agony. They no longer pointed fingers. In the crucible of suffering, their love had finally matured. Life is a tragic script that cannot be rewritten, only endured until the lessons are learned. Finally, the tides of time had brought them back to the peace they so desperately craved. We were just children playing at being adults, she whispered, leaning into his warmth. They held each other as the sun rose, until a sudden shout shattered the romantic silence. Young Chu burst through the door, freezing instantly as he saw his master's intimate moment. Master! Look! The boy shouted, his face radiating with pure, unbridled joy and excitement. Land! I see it. We've finally reached the shore where we can start our new lives. The 9 great sects couldn't reach them here, but the legend of the strongest killer had just begun. Danger lurks everywhere, but the boy remains fearless. With his master by his side, he fears nothing. Huang Chao smiles, praising the master for finding such a reliable little disciple to protect them. She gently leads young Chu to the boat's edge. Taking a comb, she begins untangling his wild hair. Why is such a cute child so unkempt? She teases lovingly. You look like a little street urchin. She ties his hair with a deep crimson cord. Suddenly, the boy's messy appearance completely vanishes. His face is now sharp and clear, eyes shining with a hidden light. The scruffy child is gone. Huang Chao turns him around to admire her work, but she freezes. The boy is silently weeping. Tears stream down his face like a broken dam. Panicked, she asks why he is so heartbroken. I saw other mothers doing this for their sons, he whispers. I always wondered what it felt like. Now, I finally know how happiness feels. Huang Chao's own eyes well up as she hugs him tight. She looks at Hong Eun-yet with a determined gaze. From today, they will raise him as their son. A master, a mother, and an assassin child. A family of killers? To her, it didn't matter anymore. They would give him the love their lost child never had. Thus, the legend's path was finally set. Half a year flies by. The once legendary Heaven's Blade survived his execution by a miraculous twist of fate. Though his body is shattered, his spirit remains. A subordinate rushes in, breathless with incredible news. He checks on the blind leader, whose eyes are forever sealed behind blood-stained white bandages. Sogo has mastered the first stage of the Blood Thunder Strike. The subordinate shouts with pure joy. The blind master smiles. His successor has finally awakened. But the good news was only beginning. Our brothers, they have all escaped the shadows. We are whole again. Brother, is it true? The master laughs a roar of triumph. His faith in his brothers was finally rewarded. The hideout erupts in celebration. On this glorious day, they would feast on beef soup in his honor. The master's heart soars, yet he cannot shed a single tear. He is lost in a whirlwind of emotion. As the disciple leaves to prepare the feast, he suddenly freezes. A cold presence stops him dead. Dishes shatter on the floor. Rage boils in his veins as he lunges with a lethal, killing blow. But his fist stops inches away. He collapses, screaming in agony. The woman who ruined them has returned. The witch who destroyed the Ghost Bureau now stands by the blind master's bed, weeping bitterly. I never meant for it to end like this, she sobs, her face a mask of fake regret. It was my choice, the master replies coldly. Save your apologies, Yong. They mean nothing now. But if you truly pity me, grant me one final request. My first and my very last. She nods desperately, promising anything. Then, his voice turns chilling. Forget Sogo. He is dead. Never look. Meanwhile, the trio finds a new home in Yunnan, a land far beyond the reach of the 9 sects. It is a wild sanctuary within the Great Ming, hidden where the authority of the world cannot reach. They settle in the rugged south. 1 year, 2 years, and then 10 years pass in a heartbeat. A decade has vanished. Long enough for a boy to grow into a monster of unparalleled strength. One morning, Huang Nuet wakes late. His wife, Huang Chao, sits outside tending to their quiet home. He still dreams of his lost brothers. 10 years of silence. Are they still alive or buried in dust? Huang Chao comforts him. Yet she wonders, why has he made Chu run for 3 straight years? Despite the grueling training, the boy never complained. He accepted every harsh lesson with silent resolve. To Chu, they were his world. He loved them as the parents' fate had once stolen away. But a predator must be forged in hardship. Hong Yet knew the world would soon come for them. In these wild mountains, the little boy has become a lethal youth, a ghost of the forest. Following his father's orders, he explores the deep woods, hunting a massive boar with predatory grace. Nearby, a group of local tribesmen are also on the hunt. These are seasoned warriors of the mountain. Their bows are drawn, arrows striking true. They had hit the beast 3 times, yet it wouldn't fall. The boar charges through the brush like a demon. But suddenly, a shadow moves faster than their arrows. Stop! That beast has entered the Blood Forest Cemetery. Hunting there will awaken the slumbering ancestors. The hunters retreated with heavy hearts and respectful bows. But just as the eldest leader offered a final prayer, a thunderous rumbling shook the earth. Was someone still pursuing the boar? Impossible, they whispered. We are all here. Driven by curiosity, they rushed toward the chaotic noise. They froze in sheer terror. Little Chu was riding the boar's head like a demon child. The beast rampaged through the sacred grounds, smashing monuments and exposing ancient bones to the sky. These simple stone towers, symbols of their lineage, were being reduced to dust by the frantic animal. They screamed for Chu to stop. The leader blocked the path, but was brutally trampled aside. Gripping the tusks, Chu steered the monster into jagged rocks with the precision of a master. With one devastating punch, Chu crushed its skull. The massive predator collapsed dead before it hit the dirt. The boy raised his small fists in victory, but the adults closed in with murderous eyes. You cursed brat! Do you realize your crime? Chu remained eerily calm. I was only hunting. Are you angry I took your prey? He asked. Their faces twisted in rage at his insolence. This wasn't about meat. He had desecrated the holiest site in the entire blood forest. The boar did it, Chu pointed coldly. They roared. It wouldn't have happened if you stayed away. You drove it here, Chu countered. I killed it to stop further destruction. You should be grateful. The brute seized Chu's collar, snarling threats of violence. Yet, the child's gaze never wavered. Who is the real liar here? Chu provoked. Enraged, the man slammed the boy into the earth. I despise you Central Plains rats, he spat. You bring nothing but arrogance and endless trouble. This was why he had fought the chief's decision to let Chu's family settle on their land. Chu looked up, his eyes burning with a killer's spark. Let's settle this by tribal law. A duel. He stood up, fists clenched in a perfect stance. Last one standing is the winner. The size gap was immense. Every blow from the giant felt like a falling mountain hitting Chu. Chu was battered and bloodied, but his spirit was unshakable. He refused to stay in the dirt. He rose again and again, defying logic. Wait for the chief's execution, the man growled, turning away. I'm not finished yet, a cold voice rasped. The man stopped, a shiver running down his spine. Stay down or die, the brute warned. But Chu's face showed the resolve of an ancient warrior. Then kill me. Chu lunged, striking the man's face and solar plexus with lethal, blinding speed. The man retaliated with savage fury, reaching for his sword to end the child's life once and for all. "You're a dead man anyway for breaking the graves," he bellowed, blinded by a thirst for blood. The blade gleamed as it swung down. Was this the end for the young prodigy? Asterisk, thud, asterisk, steel pierced a chest but not Chu's. The attacker fell, a sword buried deep in his heart. The crowd gasped in horror. Hong Nguyet had arrived, his aura suffocating and cold as ice. He had been tracking his son since noticing the Stone Tribe's suspicious movements near their home. From the high ridges, they had been watching like predators. Huang Chao knew something was wrong. Fearing for her child's safety, she had sent Huang Niet into the woods to protect him. Back home, they packed in a desperate rush. Chu bowed, apologizing for the blood he'd caused. His parents didn't blame him. The warrior's code was broken the moment that man drew steel. They opened the door to flee, but a wall of spears blocked their only path to freedom. The entire tribe stood there, faces masked in shadows and killing intent. They were surrounded. "Move aside," Hong Niet warned, "before I make this worse." Suddenly, a woman stepped forward. She spoke in a strange dialect. Though her words were foreign, her eyes lacked the heat of battle. Chu translated for his father. "Wait, Dad. She doesn't want to fight us. They want to talk." Their leader was gone, and Hong Nguyet stood firm. A father does what he must to protect. They only wanted peace with the Hong Lam tribe. But the path to harmony was paved in blood. The Hong Lam tribe teeters on the brink of extinction as the savage Stone Clan prepares to invade. Having lost their sacred water peaks, losing this land means their entire bloodline will be erased forever. The female chieftain demands an apology from Hong Yet's family for desecrating their ancestral burial grounds. In this world of strength, Hong Niet became the new alpha after slaying their previous tribal leader. Now, the tribe begs this legendary killer to lead them in a desperate war against the invaders. Hoang Nguyet shakes his head in cold disappointment, refusing to involve his family in this bloody conflict. However, his wife Huang Chao warns that the Central Plains expansion leaves them with nowhere to hide. Seeking refuge in the south was a gamble for their safety. Yet enemies lurk in every shadow. Not every tribe will be as welcoming as Hong Lam, and their survival is far from guaranteed. She recognizes the chieftain's desperation and feels a duty to help their only allies in this land. But Hoang Niet's left hand is shattered. He can no longer wield a sword like a god. Without a reason to bleed for strangers, the former assassin remains firm in his icy refusal. He commands his son, Little Chu, to translate his final rejection as they prepare to depart. As they walk away, Hong Niet is puzzled by the tribe's calm reaction to his cold dismissal. Little Chu admits the truth. He told the tribe that his family would protect them no matter what. The 5-year-old prodigy stares back, insisting they must defend the weak against the Stone Clan's tyranny. Hoang Nguyet roars in fury, shocked that his own flesh and blood would dare defy his command. Then, the child drops a bombshell. He was the one who truly caused the chief's death. During their duel, the young prodigy realized he couldn't land a blow, so he chose psychological warfare. By mocking the chief's pride, the boy forced the warrior to lose focus and break his stance. The chief's movements became sloppy, allowing the 5-year-old to land 2 devastating, bone-shattering strikes. Hong Nguyet is stunned. Why would a mere child provoke a seasoned warrior into a death match? For years, Little Chu has hunted wild beasts across mountains, but he craved a true human challenge. Knowing his father forbid assassin training, the boy sought out the strongest warrior to test his limits. This calculated provocation was the awakening of a killer prodigy, leaving the legendary assassin speechless. Huang Chao sighs, knowing the boy's destiny as a warrior can no longer be suppressed or hidden. Hoang Nguyet relents, promising to transform his son into his own lethal left hand after this war. Little Chu's eyes ignite with a terrifying killing intent, finally receiving his father's dark acknowledgement. Yet, he is still just a child. His mission is to guard the village and his mother. The next day, the family arrives at the Hong Lam camp, greeted by cold, suspicious glares. The chieftain welcomes them, though the tribe still mourns their fallen leader with bitter, vengeful hearts. She knows that having a master of Hong Yet's caliber is their only hope for survival. Hoang Nguyet gives a chilling promise to do his best as the drums of war suddenly erupt. Thunderous beats echo from the water peaks, signaling the Stone Clan's descent into the plains. Every rhythmic strike of the drum feels like a heavy hammer crushing the Hong Lam's spirit. The atmosphere turns suffocating as the shadow of a brutal massacre looms over the entire valley. The tribespeople offer simple gifts of fruit, a humble gesture of respect to their potential savior. As the chieftain turns to leave, Hong Nuyet stops her with a cold, piercing question. He demands to know if their tribe truly lacks a single warrior worthy of leading them. She reveals that rumors of his godlike martial arts are why they staked everything on him. Hwang Nuyet counters with a grim reality. He is not the hero they think he is. The language barrier makes commanding an army impossible without his young son acting as a bridge. More importantly, he has never been a general or a soldier in his entire blood-stained life. He is an assassin, a ghost of the night whose skills are meant for murder, not war. A true leader needs the hearts of his people, something a cold-blooded killer can never possess. The subordinates sneered. A commoner who slew the black tribe chief deserved zero respect. Though no leader, Hwang Yue vowed to bleed for the clan to fill that void. The chief distrusted him. Meanwhile, in the village pits, the warriors clashed in brutal combat. One beastly man crushed every challenger, dominating the ring until no one dared step forward. "Who's next?" he roared. Suddenly, a tiny hand rose. It was young Chu stepping up, a mere child against a titan. Despite the massive size gap, Chu showed zero fear. The first blow sent Chu crashing down. This monster's power was on a different level. As Chu lay there, a young girl looked down. A weakling, like you can't win. "He's the boxing king of the forest." Chu glared. "Who are you? Get lost." Chu lunged again with everything he had, but he was instantly swept off his feet. The girl mocked his defeat. "How was that punch?" Chu told her to shut up. She compared their arms, laughing at his pale skin. "How interesting, you're so white." Gasping for air, Chu fired back with a smirk. "And you're as black as coal." She stepped on him. He smacked her head. The princess's wails echoed through the village. Two brats fighting. The villagers rushed over, horrified that Chu dared touch the princess. She was the chiefess's own daughter. No wonder she was so stubborn and spoiled. They traded insults and tears. Chu insisted she hit him first, but nobody listened. Chu stood his ground until Hwang Yue arrived. "Foolish boy, what are you doing?" "She started it," Chu complained. "Quiet. The village is unstable enough," his father barked. "Apologize now if you want to protect the clan." Chu had to obey his father. Even with his hidden potential, Chu was still a loyal son who followed every command. He bowed his head in apology, but the stubborn princess wasn't satisfied so easily. She turned her nose up. Chu pleaded for forgiveness before his father lost his patience. "Follow my every order, then I'll forgive you," she smirked. Chu reluctantly agreed. Her demand? To see the wild monkeys. She had never played with them before. Chu thought it was a joke. She began feeding the monkeys, her face lighting up. The annoying brat suddenly looked like a regular, innocent child enjoying her secret wish. Chu was confused. They lived in the forest, so why was this so difficult? But as the chiefess's daughter, she was a lonely prisoner of her own royal status. Suddenly, the monkeys shrieked and fled. A dark, murderous presence choked the air. Chu's instincts flared. He tackled the girl into the brush and covered her mouth. "Don't move," he whispered. It was the Stone Tribe invaders scouting their sacred borders. Why were they here? This was an act of war, a silent prelude to invasion. "We must warn the village." Chu realized the forest tribe was in mortal danger. As they crawled away, a massive shadow loomed. An enemy scout had spotted them. He grabbed them both like toys. The scout called out to his departing squad. The leader glanced back. "Let them go. They're just useless. Tiny children," he scoffed. "Wait! That's the chiefess's daughter," another shouted. "She's the perfect hostage for us." The leader's eyes turned cold. "Hostages are burdens. Just kill them both right now." Death approached. In that moment, Chu's hidden assassin blood finally began to boil. One precision strike to the groin. Chu grabbed the girl and sprinted for his life. The soldiers roared with laughter as their comrade collapsed in pathetic, agonizing pain. "I'll kill that brat," the scout fumed, chasing after them with murderous rage. His face was a mask of fury. He vowed to snap the boy's neck. But Chu's years of secret training kicked in, and he vanished into the trees. Disaster strikes as the girl stumbles. With the hunter closing in, Chu acts on pure survival instinct. He hoists her up and sprints into the unknown. Even with the extra weight, his speed remains inhuman. The distance widens, But the pursuer is persistent. One moment of hesitation, and they are both dead meat. "Trust me," Chu whispers. He initiates a daring gambit, leaving the girl as bait near a gnarled tree. The pursuer arrives and sneers at the abandoned child. He laughs, pitying the girl for being discarded. She trembles in fear as he approaches a pit of venomous vipers. The fool smiles, sensing a victory. He thinks he's seen through the children's desperate ruse. "You brats think you can outsmart a seasoned warrior?" He mocks them, believing he's avoided a clumsy trap. He stands at the edge, gloating over his prey. Suddenly, Chu strikes from the shadows. A devastating kick sends the arrogant fool plummeting into the abyss. Screams echo as thousands of lethal fangs sink in. The hunter has become the prey in Chu's trap. The young prodigy's plan was flawless. Meanwhile, dire news reaches the village. The 𝒔𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 clan has arrived. The enemy invasion has begun. The tribe leader remains calm, having expected this inevitable clash of steel. The drums of war thunder across the plains. To arms! The era of slaughter begins today. Every warrior of Honglam readies their blade. Hong Nungyet draws his sword, eyes burning with resolve. He turns to Huang Chao with a final request. "If I fall, take Chu and flee to the central plains. Seek my brother there. He is the only one who can ensure your survival in this cruel world." Huang Chao collapses into his arms, sobbing. "Don't speak of death. You are the invincible Songyong. You escaped the heaven and earth net before. You must return." The tribe gathers for a blood sacrifice. Prayers for victory rise as weapons are raised. The march begins toward a fate written in blood. The two armies face off on the vast grasslands. The 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒏 clan's numbers are overwhelming. A sea of enemies. 3 ancient elders lead the 𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒂𝒔𝒊𝒏 charge. The Honglam warriors hesitate, bound by respect for the elderly. Seeing their doubt, Hong Ngyet explodes into motion. He shows no mercy to those who threaten his home. In 3 flashes of steel, the elders fall dead. The enemy's mockery turns into stunned, terrified silence. "Are you afraid of old men?" Hong Ngyet roars. The silence breaks as the true massacre erupts. Steel sings a symphony of destruction as the two tribes collide. Chu returns to witness the absolute carnage. "So this is war," Chu mutters from the shadows. His young mind begins to decode the battlefield's flow. He realizes the 𒔥 clan's formation is a decoy. Why would they challenge the open plains so recklessly? The forest. They're flanking us. Chu realizes the terrifying truth. An ambush is coming from the rear. The boy genius won't stand idly by. He drags the girl back into the dark woods to intercept the threat. Reaching the snake pit, he prepares a lethal surprise. He fashions a makeshift sack from his own clothing. He cannot take the girl into the killing zone. He hides her inside a hollow, ancient tree trunk. "Stay hidden until the screaming stops," he commands. He promises to return once the blood has dried. With tears in her eyes, she nods. Chu turns back to the pit, his expression turning cold and murderous. Using primal instincts, he harvests the deadly vipers. He fills his garment with hundreds of venomous fangs. Gripping his bag of living death, he stalks toward the ambush point. The enemy is waiting for the signal. His prediction was perfect. The 𒔥 elites are poised to strike the Honglam tribe from behind. The war drums signal the ambush. But as they prepare to leap, a small shadow emerges from the brush. Chu lets out a piercing cry. He hurls the mass of coiled death directly into the enemy ranks. The shirtless warriors are defenseless. The panicked vipers strike instantly, sinking venom into bare skin and muscle. Chaos erupts. One by one, the elite ambushers collapse in agony, their bodies convulsing from the lethal toxins. Only 3 remain, frantically hacking at the snakes. By then, the young assassin has already vanished. They realize their ambush is ruined. "Ignore the brat. We must join the main battle now," they scream. But Chu isn't finished. He hurls another viper from the canopy, fangs locking onto a warrior's throat. 2 left. The terrified men split up, hunting the demon child hiding in the leaves above them. As one passes beneath his branch, Chu drops a final gift of death. The hunt has only just begun. A blade whistles through the air. Chu is knocked from his perch, falling right beside the fallen enemy. The killer sneers, "Caught you, brat." Chu scrambles up, hurling his last venomous serpent at the man. With a flash of steel, the snake is sliced in 2. Chu frantically searches his clothes, but they're empty. The killer closes in as Chu retreats in terror. The blade rises, but Chu's hand finds a discarded sword. Asterisk. Clang. Asterisk. He blocks the lethal strike just in time. From his knees on the earth, Chu spots an opening. He lunges, burying the cold steel into the man's gut. Such monstrous speed from a mere 5-year-old child. The final predator falls. This toddler just annihilated the Stone Clan's elite. Hung Wuyet's vision was terrifyingly accurate. That concludes our epic recap. Like and share to support our journey as we follow this legendary assassin's rise. Stay tuned for more legendary chronicles and future underworld domination.